Hi guys, here we are back in the week 14 module. At this point, you should have already completed step 1, edited and submitted your annotated bibliography. Before the end of this week, you will complete step 3, which is drafting your They Say, I Say introduction. As a quick reminder, you have been practicing They Say introductions since the beginning of the semester. You might want to go back and review your responses to reading logs 4, 5, 6, or 13 for a bit of a refresher on how to create the They Say, I Say introduction. What I want to talk about right now, however, is how to create a thesis statement. So go ahead and get out some paper or your notebook and something to write with, and then meet me back here and we'll talk about how to construct a thesis paper for your research paper. The first thing you need to know is that there are 3 steps to creating an effective, strong thesis, and you're going to want to write this in your notebook. Step number 1, you need to identify your topic. For most of you, that's going to be Harry Potter and then some other element. For example, Kaylee wants to use that sample topic looking at the psychology of pet ownership. So she might have under identify topic, Harry Potter and pet ownership. Number 2 says state your opinion of that topic. This is where you're going to make an argument. Remember that an argument is something that somebody can disagree with. And then number 3, list the reasons for your opinion or list the methods that which you will use to support your argument. We're going to talk about how to do that in just a second when we look at some samples. But go ahead and write these elements down in your notebook and then meet me back here. Here's a sample thesis from an article that we read earlier this semester, The Elfin Mystique. I'm just going to read it first and then we'll talk about it. So it says, if we think of the house elves in Harry Potter, not as African American slaves, but as unliberated women, shackled by the chains of tradition to a circumscribed role in the domestic sphere, we can perhaps understand the source of their ambivalence and thus how they fit into Rowling's larger view of the world as it is and as it should be. First things first, step 1 in creating an effective thesis is to identify your topic. Notice here that I added to the thesis in brackets in Harry Potter because I wanted to very specifically mention this. So the topic of this essay is Harry Potter and house elves. So that's step 1. Step 2 says state your opinion of the topic. In this thesis statement, the author argues that the elves are actually sort of a metaphor for unliberated women, specifically like 20th century women in American society or in American and British society, right? So this is the opinion statement here. Step 3 says to list your reasons for your opinion and or your methods, how you will go about supporting that opinion. Now in this sample thesis, that's not as clearly defined as I hope it will be in your thesis statements, but I will say it's pretty obvious from this thesis that the author is going to be using the Harry Potter series as evidence. So this is the way she's going to go about supporting her argument. She's going to pull examples from the text itself. So here you see the first sample thesis with all of the elements identified. So then let's go ahead and take a look at some of the thesis statements you've been creating in those They Say, I Say introductions that you've posted to reading log 4, 5, 6, and 13. Okay, so I just randomly chose a thesis statement and copied and pasted it into this document. So if this is yours, thank you for the loan. This one reads, although Snape is often described with the qualities of an anti-hero throughout the story, I feel that his orphaned and tragic hero-like qualities that are eventually revealed later in the story fully supports the conclusion that Snape is indeed a tragic hero and effectively overwrites his falsified anti-hero background. Okay, great. So let's look for those 3 elements. Element number 1, the topic. It's obvious that this student will be focusing on Snape as an archetypal character. So Snape is our topic. Next, you need to state your opinion. What is the student arguing about Snape? The student has come to the conclusion that Snape is indeed a tragic hero, and this effectively overwrites his falsified anti-hero background. So this is the opinion statement. All right, what will the student focus on in the body of his essay to support the argument he's making? What methods will he use? It looks like this student intends on focusing on the qualities of the anti-hero and Snape's orphan status and tragic hero-like qualities. So this is his method. This is what his body paragraphs will be about. All right, so here is this sample with all of the elements labeled. Again, you might want to just sort of pause the video and maybe copy this down so that you have it to look at later. We're going to look at one more together. Okay, so again, this one was randomly copied from one of those They Say, I Say posts, and I'm just going to read it. In reading any of the 6 books after the Sorcerer's Stone, one would surely agree. I believe that while not all purebloods possess ill intent toward muggle-born wizards or house elves, pure-blooded wizards still need to be held accountable for the societal problems they cause by outwardly expressing their opinions of ethnic superiority. So what does the student want to focus on in their essay? They want to focus on the concept of purebloods and mugglebloods in the Harry Potter series. And you can see that listed here. Here is their topic. Okay? What is their opinion of that topic? Their opinion of that topic seems to be twofold. One is that this separation between purebloods, muggleborns, and house elves seems to be causing societal problems, and that all wizards, even those pureblood wizards who don't seem to have ill intent towards muggleborns or house elves, have to be held responsible for this concept of ethnic superiority. So if he were writing his essay using this thesis, he might talk, for instance, about Ronald Weasley's kind of apathetic attitude towards the house elves. They like it, he keeps saying. So in part, he helps to uphold this ethnic superiority of purebloods in the novels. What will the student be using to support his argument? It looks like he's going to be focusing primarily on any of the 6 books after the Sorcerer's Stone. So he may actually have to list all of the books 2 through 7 in his works cited page. Right? He might have to cite them all at the end of his research paper. But it looks like he's going to use examples from any and all of those last 6 books. And I would basically agree that the first book doesn't really focus a whole lot on the concept of race or the difference between purebloods and mudbloods, although it is sort of introduced in Malfoy's early interactions with Harry. Okay, so here is the 3rd sample. Again, you might want to pause the video, copy it down so you have it as an example to work with. Now, this is what I want you to do. What I want you to do is take out a clean piece of paper with nothing on it and go ahead and write number 1, topic, and then skip a couple lines. Number 2, opinion, and then skip a couple of lines. Number 3, reasons or methods, and skip a couple of lines. And then I want you to just sort of jot down a few things under number 1, number 2, and number 3. And once you have that opinion worked out, once you're sure you know how you're going to support that opinion, and once you know what the overall topic is going to be, you're going to take those answers to 1, 2, and 3, and you're going to turn it into a 1 sentence, at most a 2 sentence thesis statement. So no more than 1 to 2 sentences. And then you're going to, later on this week, add that thesis statement to the end of your They Say, I Say introduction. I will not create a separate video on They Say, I Say introductions simply because we have talked about them quite a bit thus far this semester. Remember to use those They Say, I Say templates. Remember to review reading logs 4, 5, 6, and 13 for examples of They Say, I Say introductions. Remember also that this is an excellent place to incorporate a scholarly source into your research paper. So use it as a They Say for you to position yourself again in your They Say, I Say introduction. All right, I'll see y'all next week.